He says, not that I'm speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. And so Paul's saying, hey, listen, don't misunderstand me. When I'm thanking you, Philippians, I'm not trying to sound like this desperate, needy person waiting for you to meet my needs. For he says what? For he says, I have learned. I love that he says learned. Anyone else just super glad he says learned? Like he didn't just naturally pick this up. He says, I've learned it. There's hope for all of us if we'll learn. He says, I've learned to be content. Here's this word, content. You ready? It means satisfied. Like after that rich meal that you have, and you're like, yes. And he says, I've learned to be content, but the reason Paul learned to be content, and it's built into this idea of him not wanting to think, I'm not speaking of being in need. You know why Paul's saying that? Because he learned that he didn't need a bunch of stuff in order to be content. You know what Paul says, right, in some of the other passages that he writes about contentment. If you go to 1 Timothy chapter 6, he says, godliness with contentment is great gain. And in verse 8, he continues forward to say, here's what you need. You want to talk about wants and needs? In our world, our needs list is enormous. Would you agree? There's so many things that we need in life. And Paul goes, I've got two needs, food and clothing. Everything else is a want. And maybe the reason why you and I stand here today with so many more needs, honestly, in our life, we have a bunch more needs than we have wants. I mean, it's just like everything has become, I need that, I've got to have that. And might I suggest to you that the reason that is because you're taking more of your advice about how to get out of your discontentment from the media than you are from the scriptures.